Well. Devil's Night is upon us again. We throw a little party, start a bunch of fires, make a little profit.
Y'all saw me, hoes, they want this dick. You sacrifice, I cut your skin. That pussy drip. XOXO, no fuck you, bitch. I cry, you die, you choke, I spit. Burning down the city, bitch. That's 616, that's 616.
In the window now, bitch. Don't make a sound. At the fuck mansion, it's about to go down. With the candles on the ground, and fuck me up now. And the shadow people here, and there's crows all around.
Whoa, do you got your eyes closed? 7 red candles, now she's taking off her clothes. Midnight strikes and my skin is turning cold. Knocked 3 times, that's a sacrifice, so whoa, do you got your eyes closed? 7 red candles, now she's taking off her clothes. Midnight strikes and my skin is turning cold. Knocked 3 times, that's a sacrifice, so
Devil's Night, bitch, in the car.
Devil's Night, bitch, in the car.
I'ma drink your blood, cause I want to.
I'ma drink your blood, cause I want you.
Tell me, baby, if you want to.
Tell me, baby, if you want to.
Devil's Night, bitch, in the car.
Devil's Night, bitch, in the car.
Devil's Night, that's the annual pre-Halloween arson spree. Last year, 281 blazes were reported.
In 2006, the city of Saginaw, Michigan was set ablaze with over...
Cyrax wins.
Well, that was entertaining. I miss listening to that song. But now we're going to listen to good shit.
Continue to follow a breaking news alert at this hour. Excuse me. This is the Amber Alert, of course, issued for a little girl out of Hawkins County. Summer Wells has now been missing for 1 week, and as of today, crews have covered more than 4.5 square miles in their search for the 5-year-old. So she was last seen June 15th walking near her home in the Beech Creek community. And late this afternoon, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation announcing a shift in their search tactics.
News 2's Alex Dennis is here with all of those details. Alex.
Well, Eric and Erica, that is right. For 7 days now, crews have been scouring the mountainous and dangerous terrain near Summer Wells' home. Hundreds of boots on the ground, combing the area for any sign of that little girl. Now, the TBI now telling us after today, the search for Summer Well will focus on specific areas using specialized teams.
We will have specialized search teams, whether it be K9, specialized man tracking, USAR teams that we've already utilized to go back into these areas. Once we get a lot of these people out, it may make this area calm down a little bit, but we will have people in the Beech Creek community from one end to the other, working tirelessly day in and day out.
Also today, new details about the rocky relationship between Summer's parents. According to the court documents, the 5-year-old's mother filed last year for a protective order against her husband, Don Wells. They said she was afraid for her children and herself. In October of last year, police came to the home of Don Wells for a report of domestic assault. A warrant said at one point Wells pushed his wife down, injuring her knee, then punched himself in the face multiple times and then left the home. Wells was arrested and booked into the Hawkins County Jail on multiple charges, including domestic assault, possession of a handgun while under the influence, and unlawful possession of a weapon. But those charges were dropped just months ago in April. And as for the emergency protective order filed for the wife, she chose to drop it just 4 days later. Guys.
The Wells family lives across the street from a neighboring property. On mirroring mountains, together they can be described as sentinels which sit high over Ben Hill Road. The night Summer went missing, the neighbor swears that she and her 2 children heard a scream shortly before they joined the search for a now missing Summer Wells.
it's there, but you want to forget.
On the watch and hypervigilant.
And,
That's how Jody Sue Brown was the very day Summer Wells went missing.
There's no TV, no noise at all.
Jody Sue was in her cabin with her teenage kids, 19 and 14, waiting for anything.
We were kind of hyper alert because of property things that had happened the day before. So we were listening for noise, everything was kind of quiet.
The sale brought a plethora of people to their door, confused about which piece of land was for sale, leading to a dispute of property lines.
While we were out at one point doing survey lines, and there was a flash of a car that went up Candace and Donnie's driveway. Something about it struck me wrong.
She and her family next heard a truck door slamming and dismissed it as their neighbors. The next sound was harder to justify. About an hour and a half before Summer is thought to go missing, Jody Sue, her son, and her daughter heard something far more suspicious. A scream
Stopped all three of us cold.
Her daughter was the first to go to the cabin door. Then all three were there listening.
Just this kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
Animalistic, but not an animal.
Knew it was, wrong. It wasn't a dog, it wasn't an animal.
That vigilance kicking into overdrive. Jody Sue and her son went out to look for the source of the scream.
My son and I decided to go out, look and see what we could see. We went back onto the bank, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything.
They went on with their evening. The kids returned to being kids. Jody Sue headed down her driveway around 6 to tend to flowers.
And at this point, I start hearing Candace hollering for Summer. And then my brain immediately went, scream earlier, this, uh-oh.
Jody Sue was the first to hear those calls and the first to join the search for Summer.
I dropped my purse. I tried to yell up at Candace. I was like, I'm looking, and I started looking.
Jody Sue searched one side of a creek, Summer's brothers the opposite side.
And you gave statements to the police, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Jody Sue had been interviewed many times by investigators, bringing up the scream often. But the sheriff doesn't believe the scream is related to the disappearance of Summer Wells.
She's been interviewed numerous times by not only my agency, but the TBI and FBI, and we don't find anything with that complaint or information related to this case.
Jody Sue wished she could go back to just a short time before Summer and before the scream she believes was Summer.
I wish every day that when I heard that scream, I hadn't tried to dismiss it.
Referencing the work of the FBI, TBI, and his own deputies, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson reiterated in an interview the same week as Jody Sue's that investigators have found absolutely no proof that an abduction has taken place in the Beech Creek community. Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
You're too pretty for this, lady.
Enough story. Next day 2 and a planned search for missing 6-year-old Summer Wells is now over.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said teams failed previously identified points of interest in Hawkins County. The agency says much of the area where Summer disappeared requires extra time to search thoroughly. They say it's extremely steep and dangerous. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniel spoke with Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, the lead investigator in the case.
Yeah, Ansley, the sheriff told you today that Summer's family now currently is not cooperating with law enforcement?
That's exactly right, Josh and Sarah. He also told me that the family has attorneys. Now, he did tell me that he didn't want to speak any further on the matter, but I did have the chance to speak with Summer Wells' mother and grandmother at the home where she disappeared earlier today, and her grandmother told that she wanted to address the sheriff's comments about them not cooperating, well as whether or not they have an attorney. And this was the first time that we have spoken with her on camera since her granddaughter went missing.
Mr. Lawson stated that Candace and the whole family is lawyered up. I can't speak for Donnie, and I know Candace hasn't because she's told me she hasn't. And I have not. If law wants to talk to me, TBI wants to talk to me, they have my phone number. They know when I leave the state. They know when I'm here.
Summer Wells' grandmother, Candace Hare, says she hasn't spoken with law enforcement since December 13th.
They have not contacted me since the YouTubers were down here in the driveway. And we asked him about trespassing.
Ma was with her granddaughter all day, the day she disappeared. She walked me through what they did that day and said she and Summer were repotting cactus plants outside of her camper, and then
Summer came in and had a piece of peppermint, which is her favorite, and then she went in. She said, "Mama, I want to go play with the boys, Candy." Walked her back to the house, and she asked the boys to keep an eye on her, and that's the last time I seen her.
As the 9-month mark of when her granddaughter was reported missing approaches, she says the social media and online rumors have to stop.
If they want to help, that's great. But if they want to spread lies, that's a different story. Because that's all they're doing now is spreading lies. They're reaching and trying to figure out what lie can we spread now. And I'm tired of it.
Now, Summer's mother, Candace Bly, did not want to go on camera. However, she did write this statement for us on my notepad. You see it right there on your screen as well. It says, "I've never stopped talking to law enforcement. No, I have not lawyered up. I don't understand why this is being said. I can't speak for Dawn, and we are willing to do whatever to bring our daughter Summer home. Thanks for all the searchers." Now, she also did not want to address her new YouTube channel, Dr. Phil, or anything other than the comments by the sheriff made earlier today. However, she and her mother, Summer's grandmother, wanted me to reiterate how thankful they were for the searchers who are still out looking for Summer, as well as law enforcement for still keeping this investigation open and fresh. Live in Beech Creek, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Ansley, thank you. March 15th will mark 9 months since family members say they last saw Summer in the Beech Creek community at their home. The TBI statewide Amber Alert for Summer remains active tonight. They're waiting for calls with credible information to 1-800-TBI-FIND.
That 5-year-old girl has been missing since June 15th. Her mother, Candace, says that they were planting flowers at the front of the house with Grandma when Summer decided to go back inside the house. Now, that is where her 3 brothers were on the internet, watching TV, and Mom says she then came inside herself and asked the boys, "Where's Summer? Where's your sister?" And those brothers said she'd gone downstairs to play. But nobody could find her in that house. Here is Summer's father, Don Wells, back in June, describing what happened next.
So when her brother come in, she went down in the basement. She didn't answer, so she went down there and she was gone. She went out the basement door, which was locked. We haven't seen her since. It's Sunday, but we have no idea.
Local police and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation spent weeks and weeks searching that property around the house, even bringing in dive teams to check the dirt, as well as issuing an Amber Alert. But here we are, 5 months later, still no sign of Summer Wells. In News Nation's Brian Enton, who is at the Sheriff's Department in Rogersville, Tennessee. That's where Summer Wells went missing. Okay, Brian Enton, you do this better than anybody else. Just get me up to speed on the investigation.
Well, unfortunately, basically nothing has changed in 5 months since Summer Wells went missing. I was inside the building behind me, the sheriff's office today, sat down with the sheriff, and that was probably the most jaw-dropping thing I heard since we got here. I asked him, since Summer went missing 5 months ago, what sort of progress? Are there any new nuggets? Is there any lead? Is there anything? And he said flat out, no. They have no new leads, and he said everything is on the table right now, and every single person involved is he considers a person of interest.
Well, that's upsetting. You know, people don't just go vanish. They don't just go poof. It's whether they're alive or dead somewhere. And, you know, we have lots of tools to figure that out. Go back to the dad for a minute, because we talked about mom and grandma out planting flowers and the boys inside doing, you know, what boys do on their phones and TV. Where was dad, and what's his story?
So the dad, Don Wells, he was at work. He works as a drywaller when Summer went at the call, and he rushed home and he saw his other kids, who have since been taken away by social services, by the way, because I'm not sure if you've seen the inside of their house, Ashley. It was a real mess when all of this went down. Very, very unsafe for children. But the dad was not there, comes home, sees his other boys out looking for Summer, and basically you summed it up. The mom claims that Summer was outside, went back in the house. The grandmother was also on the property. Summer suddenly goes missing. They're looking around and she vanishes. What the parents believe is that she may have wandered out of the house. They say that she was abducted. And that is what they think, either kidnapped or abducted, and that she went down a very steep ravine behind the house. But I was out at the house today and yesterday. The ravine is so steep, it's in the middle of nowhere. And the sheriff says it. I mean, it's not deep at this point. There's to show that this was an abduction, because it's just, you know, it's so strange that this would happen at this one house in the middle of nowhere on the side of a hill in Tennessee.
So I'm just going to go back like a gazillion years, you know, like 20 years to Elizabeth Smart going missing. I said the same thing. I was outside, you know, the Smart's house, and I said, you know, little girls don't vanish from I smell a rat. And there was a ravine going the other way, a steep upward ravine outside back of their house. And it turned out Elizabeth was up there. And she could hear people screaming for her, calling out her name. And she was captured by two evil boogeymen, a man and a woman who kept her for 9 months. And so I've changed my tune a lot on the fact that, you know, weird, completely unbelievable abductions, they do happen. They happen to Mark Klaas. They happen to Ed Smart. They do happen. But let's go back to that house. You said inside it's not a good scene. But is there anything that investigators or even the parents can point to that suggests someone came in that house and somehow drove up that big circular driveway without them seeing, and then somehow took Summer off into those, I guess, thick woods where they wouldn't have their car? I mean, none of it really logistically makes sense from a pragmatic, you know, state. So what's the theory on how someone might have abducted her out of the house?
Well, according to the parents, when the search dogs were out there, they traced a scent from Summer down the steep ravine, not near the driveway, but down the steep ravine out to a more of a main road below. So the parents' working theory is there may have perhaps been a car parked down below, that someone got Summer up by the house, took her down this steep ravine, got her in the car, and then took off. And you're right, anything is possible. The sheriff said anything is possible. He said he has hope that she could still be alive somewhere. That's why we're hoping people take a look at her picture. Could she still be in the state of Tennessee? Could she have been human trafficked in another part of the country? He says anything is possible at this point.
Oh, I just hate even thinking that. Like, I don't want my head to go into that space at all. You know, maybe I'm Pollyanna about this, but you say traffic, and I just think, God, she's 5. Okay, so the red truck, the business about the red truck, you know, they're saying it's like a 1998 to 2000 maroon or red Toyota Tacoma. That's pretty specific, with a bed ladder rack along with white buckets in the truck bed. Who saw that and was so smart to get all that information and then remember it and then actually regurgitate it? Whose information is that?
So it was a witness in the area who believes they saw that red truck. Another neighbor also says that she thinks that she heard a scream around the time Summer went missing. So, of course, those were some of the things we brought up to the sheriff today. He said, yes, they're looking for the red truck, but he wanted to be clear, that's just something else they're looking into. They're not sure if that is really someone connected to the case. Could it have just been someone driving by? Was there even really a red truck? They don't know. They want people to be on the lookout, but it's not like they've got some kind of concrete lead that there is an abductor who is in that red truck. He says they're not anywhere near close to that right now.
Okay, so you had a chance to talk to Dawn Wells. This is what I really want to get into, Brian, and we've got several bits and pieces, but I want to start at the top with the question about, I don't know, I think he's alluding to the idea that maybe Summer's mom doesn't hang with a good crowd, but dig into that for me and give me what it was he said about that.
Yeah, let me set this up for you a little bit, Ashley. The Wells, Candace, and Dawn were on Dr. Phil last week. Dawn, the dad, says Candace did not want to go on TV. They had to really California and go on the show and say that it was in the best interest of Summer to get the word out. So they go on the show, and at one point during the Dr. Phil interview, when they're asking her questions, she breaks down, she turns off, and she leaves. A lot of people following this case have questioned, including the sheriff himself, does Candace Wells know something about what happened? Not necessarily something that she did to her daughter, but does she know something about what happened that she is perhaps not sharing with authorities? And that sort of was the basis for my questioning of Dawn Wells. Take a listen. Is it possible that something happened to Summer that Candace knows about that's not her fault, but she is just nervous now and feeling bad about it?
Well, no, because she knows better. She would know to go directly to law enforcement. An accident's one thing. She would never do something like that. She knows better than that. I know it happens. It does happen with people, but no. She would go directly to law enforcement. She'd call an ambulance right away, number one, do anything. She would freak out. I mean,
Could she have gotten herself into a situation where it wasn't her fault, but...
No.
You know what I mean?
No. She's a good mother. She loves her children. She's not going to allow any situation like that. The biggest mistake she might have made is maybe choosing some wrong friends, which is, it happens.
So, Brian, what did that mean? Sometimes she chooses some wrong friends. That was kind of a sketchy thing to say.
Yeah, and for people who follow this case, and there are a lot of people online who follow this case very closely, that is what they picked up on. He has not said that before. And the question is, what did he mean by wrong friends? I pushed him on that. He wouldn't really elaborate and sort of change the subject. But yes, that was the interesting part to us. And even the sheriff today, when I interviewed him, said, yeah, that was interesting. We haven't necessarily heard that before.
You just mentioned something I think is super important, and the fact is that the kids were removed from the home. The other three brothers were removed from the home. Give me a little bit more on that, because that doesn't just happen because one child goes missing. Like the Smarts kids weren't all removed from their home. There were 5 kids. They stayed with the Smarts, the other 4. So why were these kids taken out?
That's a very good question. Bottom line, we don't know. It's all confidential because they're underage, and the case has actually been put under a gag order. We weren't even able to ask Dawn Wells about that, or he could get in trouble. So we don't know exactly why they were taken.
Interesting. Okay, and then just the last question, and it's about, I think it was only like 2 weeks ago, you alluded to the criminal backgrounds of Dad. I mean, Dad's got multiple felonies. He served prison time for drugs and burglaries. He's had multiple parole violations. Mom has a criminal record in the state of Wisconsin. Most recently, she pleaded guilty to misdemeanor domestic 03. But then Dad, it appears, may have gotten a DUI just like 2 weeks ago. What's up? What's going on?
So he claims that he, is stressed about the case, obviously having a hard time handling his daughter being away, and made a mistake. Again, if you listen to some of these YouTube shows that he comes on middle of the night, early in the morning, tell that he sounds very different than the man that I interviewed in the afternoon yesterday. So there are definitely some demons there, and I think that this family is obviously having a hard time with what they're going through with their daughter being gone.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Well, there you go. What they said, what they didn't say. Don't I tell you? I don't. It don't matter what I've said. It don't matter what PG says. It don't matter what anyone says. It's what the police and TBI and FBI say. And the TV and the police, TBI and FBI say person of interest. That's it. We're all allowed our opinion, Discovery. We are. We all are allowed it. But there you go. So it don't matter what I say about this case. It don't matter what anybody says about this case. But the police say. We got another one for you. Give me a second. But like I said, it don't matter. There, that statement that Don just said has always stuck with me. Yeah, it does. But from my understanding, the only friends that she had were very select few. So, I don't know. But here's something from a little while ago. Not too long ago. Okay? Give me a second. This was done this year. On June 11th, this was done. So about a month ago.
This weekend marks 4 years since a Hawkins County girl was last seen. 5-year-old Summer Wells was reported missing from her home on Ben Hill Road in the Beech Creek community on June 15, 2021. On your left, the photo shared by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation when the Amber Alert was issued. On your right, an age-progressed photo released 2 years ago of what she may look like. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniel spoke with Summer's father, Don Wells, as the 4-year mark of his daughter's disappearance approaches.
Nearly 4 years ago, 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared from her home here in Hawkins County. It's believed that she walked out of this door and hasn't been seen since. And today, there are still no answers as to where she could be.
It's 4 years too long. My thoughts and feelings haven't changed. I mean, it's been heartbreak, continual heartbreak for the past 4 years.
This very yard is one of the last places Don Wells' daughter Summer was known to be.
We love and miss her very much and wish that she could come home very much because she was kind of the bossy boss around here, and we just miss our children, man. We had 4 children running around here like crazy.
The then 5-year-old has been at the center of an Amber Alert since June 15th of 2021. Crews searched the Beech Creek community for weeks, with law enforcement receiving numerous tips that never panned out.
We haven't talked to them in a long time. We let Chris and Trudy, our private detectives, deal with TBI in Hawkins County because, I don't know, Anyway, it's just better that they do.
These faded signs all throughout the Beach Creek community are a sign of hope that Summer Wells could still come home nearly 4 years after she disappeared from her home on Ben Hill Road.
It's very bad, and and then when you add the social media pressure, of them saying that we're suspects or whatever, that just adds to it, and it's kind of living a nightmare.
Summer's mother, Candace, has only spoken to us on camera once. She declined to be a part of this interview minutes before we started recording.
Seen one or two, but all them fears started creeping up, of what happened, in the beginning with the social media and everything, hunting us down everywhere we go, and trying to basically ruin us everywhere we go, and she's just having nightmares.
After Summer's disappearance, the Wells' 3 oldest boys were put into Department of Children's Services custody, with Dawn and Candace eventually citing their rights over.
We haven't received any updates from them, no contact, and in fact they deleted their phone number or blocked my phone as soon as we got done with that case and signed our children over.
And still today, one word describes their entire situation.
It's heartbreaking.
In Hawkins County, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation declined to comment about the ongoing search for Summer Wells. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office didn't respond to our request. Anyone who may have information on the whereabouts of Summer Wells is asked to call the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Out of the horse's mouth, bruh. Can't tell you much more than that. Truth is, they ain't got shit. The last 4 years of people sending in reports and calling TBI about this and that panned out to nothing. So those who on YouTube who want to say shit and then call TBI, understand you're the ones hindering this investigation. Not anybody else. You. With your reports that pan out to nothing. So stop. That's it. Stop. You're not making it any better. You're making things way worse than what they need to be. With your fake reports. It just breaks my soul with everybody out there calling TBI with their reports and none of it pans out to be anything. It's disgusting behavior. You're supposed to be adults, and instead you're acting like high school children. Stop it. Thank you. Okay? This is the recap that was needed. This is the recap of the Wells case that was needed. Okay? News. Straight up. What was said, what was put out to the public. All right? And what was put out to the public a month ago, tomorrow. stupid shit needs to stop. You want to beef with somebody? Do it without using this little girl's name. You're causing more harm than you are helping. I could say I had a hand in that. I caused more harm than helping, and then I stopped. I ain't gonna lie, I had my hand in that cookie jar just like everybody else. My hand was deep in that cookie jar like everybody else. Then I stopped. Then I looked. Then I went to the news, to what was put out for public release, for the public to know. I went there, and I watched, and watched. Then I realized all this hokey doke bobo, that's all it is hokey doke bobo. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like the fact that I got Panda Jeffy in the background or a cat in my background or whatever. You don't have to at all. I don't care if you like me, don't like me, you like what I do, don't like what I do. It is what it ain't. Okay? But all this bloody and blah, 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 blah has nothing to do with this little girl missing. What my son does has nothing to do with this little girl missing. What Lip says and does has nothing to do with this little girl missing. Hi, how you doing? Okay? What Mama Bear and her crew are out there doing has nothing to do with this little girl at all. Okay? But what I am saying, and what was stated a month ago tomorrow, is that nothing is helping. These calls, these YouTubers making money off this little girl's name. None of it has anything to do with this little girl. I am over here keeping her name out there, showing what was released to the public, not all in one shot, because that's going to take me forever to get it all in one, all in order. Okay? But the constant phone calls about your assumptions or opinions or ideals and what you think needs to be done has no weight in the greater scheme of things. None. You want to help this little girl? You want to help the TBI, the FBI, and the LE find this little girl? Stop taking your shit out under this little girl's name. I'm over here doing news. I'm over here listening to what was produced to the general public from the TBI, the FBI, and the LE to the news station. I, for one, am going to play more of these clips throughout this live. More from the news. It's not all going to be in order, but it's all about one thing and one thing only. And that's putting the correct public information out on this little girl. The red truck was looking for it for a different reason. The police was looking for it for a different reason other than the Wells case. Stated earlier in this live on the news. Thank you. So I'm going to play another Summer Wells video because Lord knows there's plenty of them. And then it's for you, the general public, to decide on whether or not you want to go with these rumors, these people fighting under, these people talking smack to other people under her name, or do you want to go with what was released to the public via news stations from LE, TBI, and FBI? That is your choice to make. But me, personally, I myself am going to go with what the news is telling me. Give me a moment. I'm going to shut my camera down.
Today marks 3 years since the disappearance of then 5-year-old Summer Wells from her Hawkins County home.
The night she was reported missing, authorities said Summer was last seen walking from her home on the road in the Beach Creek community. Hours later, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued an endangered child alert for her. That would later turn into an Amber Alert.
To this day, law enforcement still has not located Summer Wells and closer to finding her. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniels spoke with Summer's parents.
We have pushed investigators for months to learn about new details or updates in this case. What we do know is the continues their search to bring Summer home, with both Dawn and Candace Wells in Kingsport at a place with deep meaning to Summer's disappearance. Borden Park is anything but quiet this time of year. But 3 years ago, it was filled almost weekly with people praying for Summer Wells.
I see all these families, with their kids and how much they enjoy them and stuff, and we were stripped of all our kids have been kidnapped from us by DCS, and we're not sure about Summer, but we know about where our boys are at.
While prayer vigils are now few and far between, Dawn and Candace Wells haven't stopped praying that their daughter Summer will be found.
We have hope, always. But there's not much hope in this world. We have to trust God that there's hope in eternal life in heaven.
Summer was reported missing on June the 15th of 2021.
We know she was taken away in a vehicle, or they would have found her in the area if she was somewhere in the area. But who's responsible for her? We don't know.
I asked Dawn and Candace when was the last time they heard from investigators.
We haven't lately at all. It's been a while, over a year, I think. I haven't talked to any law enforcement at all. I tried to talk to the FBI agent about it, but that didn't go anywhere.
Dawn says he feels that he and his wife Candace were targeted by the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office.
They intimidated us, they belittled us, and done everything they could amidst the chaos, and then the CPS was there doing the same thing.
When asked about how he thinks about Summer's disappearance 3 years later, Dawn spoke about a Department of Children's Services investigation.
They said somebody had called and said that we was giving our kids loaded guns to play with, and so they closed the case June 14th, which is something CPS does not do. They don't just close cases. So it's really odd and mystifying why they closed the case June 14th, and then 24 hours later, Summer's gone.
Summer's mother, Candace, sat in for part of our interview, but got up after a few questions.
She was going to try, but her emotions are just too much.
The last update in the Summer Wells case from law enforcement was an age-progressed photo released in June of last year. This image was released by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Summer Wells, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. That number is right there on your screen.
New tonight, we're speaking with the father of a missing Hawkins County girl for the first time since his release from jail. Good evening, I'm Sarah Diamond.
I'm Josh Smith. Yeah, it's been almost a year since we've last seen or heard from Donald Wells. An Amber Alert to find his daughter Summer Wells remains active 19 months after it was first.
Don was released from jail back in October after serving time for a DUI charge. He broke his silence in a recent post on findsummerwells.com.
He criticized the Department of Children's Services in Tennessee about how they handled the case involving his older children. And now we're hearing from him in his first on-camera interview with News Channel 11 since getting out of jail.
Ansley Daniels spoke with him. Ansley, what did he tell you?
Well, Josh and Sarah, this is the first time we are hearing from Don since he was released from jail. And in the months following, with their sons in DCS custody and Saturday marking Summer's 7th birthday, Don Wells told me that he and his wife just want their family back together. It's been almost a year and a half since Summer Wells went missing from her home in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County.
We have to prepare ourselves for a worst case scenario. You know, we could always hope for a good scenario, but you know, it can't be good because no matter what situation she's in, she's lost her freedom. Even if she's alive, she's lost her freedom. She can't be seen in public.
About a month after she was reported missing, her 3 older brothers were placed into DCS custody.
We really want our boys back home. If Summer was to be found today, we wouldn't be able to see her or talk to her, you know, and we can't talk to our boys.
Were they in touch with Candace while you were in jail?
Yes, yeah.
But did something change when you got out of jail?
The only thing that changed is suddenly we weren't allowed to contact them at all.
Wells spent a little more than 8 months in the Hawkins County Jail for pleading guilty to a DUI charge.
One of the guards gave me a copy of the New Living Translation Bible, so I found that to be about the best book there was. So I read it several times because that's all there really was to do. And I was in 23-hour lockdown, so for my safety, they say.
And since he was released from jail, Wells says it's been a challenge to gain custody back.
They're doing nothing to help us. In fact, they're making us jump through all kinds of hoops, which is almost impossible to jump through all of them and hold a job and do all these things. They're making it real tough on us.
Wells told us he has been in touch with investigators over Summer's case.
There's not one shred of evidence. There's nothing. As much as they've looked, as much as the work of this they've done, they haven't been able to come up with anything at all.
His wife, Summer's mother, Candace, has also been in and out of the hospital.
Candace has been in the emergency room 4 times for heart problems, and we're looking at eventually doing a major surgery, hopefully to correct the problem with her heart. But she's doing better, I think. But all this stress and stuff is not helping, I don't think, for sure.
This weekend marks Summer's 7th birthday.
It's just another day without her. I mean, I don't really want to celebrate her birthday without her.
A time where he will wonder what she would be like as a 7-year-old.
She was definitely going to be tall. She'd probably be as tall as me, I'd say, because she was growing so fast. And I'm sure she would be the same person. And she didn't have no qualms about taking on her brothers, that's for sure. She didn't hesitate to put them in their place real quick.
Don Wells says that even though there has not been any new leads in Summer's case recently, he's hopeful that by keeping her name in the news, there will continue to be some new information shared with police.
Ansley Daniel, thanks. Again, that Amber Alert for Summer Wells remains active. She has been missing since June of 2021. If you have any credible information that could help investigators find Summer Wells, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. You can also email tips to tbi@tn.gov.
We begin with new details and new interviews on a case that we have been covering extensively here on News Nation Prime. 5-year-old Summer Wells has been missing for 5 months. Her parents say she vanished within minutes from their home in Rogersville, Tennessee. But months of searching have come up empty. There have been no new leads and no evidence not even a sighting of Summer. And suspicion has started to turn to her parents, Don and Candace Wells. They have been adamant that Summer was abducted. But tonight, the sheriff on the case says everyone is a person of interest. Correspondent Brian Enton is live tonight in Tennessee, where he spoke with Summer's dad in his first. He appeared on Dr. Phil. Brian.
Marnie, you know, we've talked about this case, we've covered this case, but to be on the ground here in Tennessee, you realize right away just how complex it is. All of the different personalities involved and just the mystery that this little girl 5 months later is still missing. Flying into Tennessee, we weren't sure what to expect. Summer Wells has been missing for 5 months. No new leads and basically no new information since the 5-year-old vanished from her Northeast Tennessee home.
I can't find her. They've been yelling for her. She's been gone for about 10 minutes now.
Summer's been missing since June 15th, and there are definitely some people who are not happy that we've come here to dig into the case. Some people on social media basically just telling us to stay away. But there are still so many unanswered questions about where Summer is. It's now been 5 months since Summer Wells disappeared. Do your investigators know anything more now than they did 5 months ago?
We really don't know anything more, but everything's still on the table.
Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson is in charge of the investigation.
Everybody that's involved in this case is a person of interest. We've not ruled anyone out.
Summer's dad, Don Wells, agreed to meet with me. We talked to him on the edge of his property where Summer disappeared. What do you think happened? What does your heart tell you?
Well, I know in my heart and in my mind she was abducted. Someone snuck up there when we weren't exactly paying attention, and we don't know if they come in the basement and grabbed her, or if she stepped outside the basement and was walking to her swing or something.
You can see the Wells house up through the trees on the hill right here. Summer was home with her mom, Candace. Her younger brothers and her grandmother was also on the property. And what the family thinks happened is that someone took Summer, brought her down this steep embankment to possibly a car that was waiting in the roadway.
And I said, boys, where's your sister at? Well, she just went downstairs, Mom, to play. So I went over here like this.
Summer's mom, Candace, allowed podcaster Chris McDonough with the interview room into her home in July.
Is this how I would get down here?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
They went downstairs in the cluttered house and into Summer's bedroom.
But this is where Summer and little Waylon was.
This is the back door Summer may have disappeared through.
But I know I did come out here and I said, Summer, because sometimes she'll sit right here.
Do you think Candace would speak with me?
I don't know. I mean, we had to beg her, you know, to please go on Dr. Phil, because she's just so been burnt thousands of times by people. So that's why she don't want to talk to nobody, and she didn't want to go on Dr. Phil. That's why she was getting upset. Because of the way the YouTubers and other people have turned on her, they've just ruined her.
I'm very sorry for the occasion.
The Wells were on Dr. Phil last week, and at one point, Candace walked off.
I'm being interrogated again, and I don't want to do this anymore. Yes, I am.
We'll stop. I want you to feel comfortable.
No, I want out, and I want to go home.
I'm down. Okay.
Questions have come up about what Candace might know. Could she have gotten herself into a situation where it wasn't her fault, but
no.
You know what I mean?
No. She's a good mother. She loves her children. She's not going to allow any situation like that. The biggest mistake she might have made is maybe choosing some wrong friends, which is, you know, it happens. But other than that, no way.
Do you think any of those wrong friends could have something to do with it?
We don't know.
I know you all have had some ups and downs in your past with alcohol and drugs. Do you think one of those people that came around could have?
No, we can't go there.
Wells says he's limited in what he can say after social services took Summer's 3 brothers from the home earlier this year. Would you mind just quickly maybe taking us for a little drive around, just moving, just so I can, I know you don't want me up there walking around, but maybe you could just drive me around.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you,
I appreciate
guys.
it. Thank you. He initially agreed to take me on the property, but then changed his mind. He says he wants the focus to remain on Summer and finding whoever took her.
We love our daughter with all our hearts. We miss her. We'd do anything to have her back in that church with us that she so loves.
The sheriff says the Wells are cooperating, but that there's no evidence at this point that Summer was kidnapped or abducted. Is it possible that Summer's parents, Candace and Dawn, had something to do with this, or have you ruled that out?
We haven't ruled anything out. Everything's possible.
And right now, detectives say they are looking for a red or maroon pickup truck that may have been in the area around the time that Summer Wells went missing. But even the sheriff today said they have no confirmation that the truck was actually there. They're not even for sure it is definitely connected. There are so many pieces to this puzzle they just haven't figured out yet. But another interesting thing, Marnie, he did confirm for me today that both of Summer's parents did pass a polygraph test.
Which is something I know a lot of people have wondered. Brian, the sheriff says everything is on the table. Everyone is a person of interest. They are not ruling anything out. So one theory out there is this thing called the cornbread mafia that we're seeing a lot on social media. What is it? What's the sheriff saying?
So the cornbread mafia is sort of rumored to be this underground mafia network in this area of drug dealers and people who pass drugs around and that kind of a thing. The sheriff says he's not totally aware of it. The Wells family says they had never even heard of it. But what was interesting on Dr. Phil is when it was brought up, that is what sparked Candace Wells to have that emotional moment and walk off screen.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
TBI and CPS have nothing on the Wells until they do. I have no reason not to believe them. I agree with that statement. Keep in mind, they both passed the polygraph, so that was confirmed. Even though it holds no weight in court. They both took one, they both passed it. Exactly. Oh my Lord. What's up, bro? So, there's nothing. At all. Nothing. Police have nothing. TBI have nothing. Thus far, there's nothing. It don't matter what I think. It's speculation. It doesn't matter what any of us think. It's speculation. It's bullshit. It's rumors. Something to make that almighty dollar. There's nothing to be said until there is. Period. The Wells case is still active. Yeah, I will assume it will go cold sooner or later. That's because I watch way too many police cop shows and shit like that in my lifetime. I'm allowed my opinion. But there's nothing. Police have searched out every which way but loose. Every tip, call, whatever people want to call in, panned out to jack shit other than rumor, speculation, and drama. Nothing on Hunter. Absolutely fucking right. So, ain't no one said nothing about Hunter in any of these newscasts. So, that's it. Game over. They have a scent going down to the ravine. It was stated earlier in this live on the news. The scent the dogs picked up was going to her into the ravine. There you go. Amazing how much shit gets twisted in under a year. Four years. Nothing. Parents have asked people to stop spreading rumors and lies and BS about with their child's name on the internet. People still are. I'm never going to understand it. Food for thought before I end this live. Food for thought. It don't matter. You don't have to like any of us. You don't have to like the Wells. You don't have to like Jody Sue. You don't have to like Andy Bernard. You don't have to like anyone around the Wells case. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like my son. But remember, what you put out there as your bullshit affects in the real life. So why don't you take a moment, go and watch the newscasts of the information that was put out. Might take you a little while. But go and ask. Go look. And then go ask yourself. What's been exaggerated? What's been lied? What's been fact? What's been truth? What's a bunch of BS? And what's just somebody trying to make that almighty dollar? That's all you got to do. It's fucking sad. A parent can't cry, can't show no damn emotion about her child being gone without you leeches poking fun at it, assuming, oh, she had to do something, she had to have done something to her child to be like that. No, motherfucker. It's pathetic, sad, disgusting. Trying to stop YouTubers trying to stop news crews from talking from going up on Ben Hill. What gives you the fucking right? No, nobody. Your entitlement shows. I'm done. I'm done. This live's done. I'm 5 minutes over my allotted. I'm done. This live is done. Fucking people. No hope for humanity. None. But enjoy the rest of your Thursday.